just to ensure that when it gets to the end of the month, it's just a bit easier for people. They've just got a bit more breathing space, and this really makes a difference.
Andy Burnham starting a tour of the country this morning, talking to people about the cost of living and what he plans to do about it. The government is promising this morning that pretend prices and deceptive deals will end, with plans to ban retailers from making misleading claims to customers about discounts. They also say they're going to crack down on subscription traps. Chris McDonald is the business minister and joins us now. Chris, good morning.
Morning, Rosie.
I'm looking at a press release from the government published in 2024 saying new measures unveiled to crack down on subscription traps. This isn't really a new set of policies or ideas, is it?
Well, actually, there is two things here. So one is pulling forward a policy early, and the other one is a new policy. So essentially, one of the policies here, the policy on subscription traps, that was due to come into force in the spring, but we're bringing that forward to the 1st of January, and so we're launching a consultation on that so we can get the implementation right in the autumn. And then the other policy on deceptive pricing, on ensuring that discounts are really genuine discounts, then that is a new policy. And the combination of those policies, we expect will save the average consumer at least £14 a month.
Yeah, it's about helping people not waste money, really, rather than saving money, is it? And, you know, some of your political opponents would say what this is tinkering around the edges. You're not actually making a material difference to people's bottom line.
Well, look, I don't know how you view the money that you spend, but I think I am saving some money if it's not being wasted. Ultimately, I've got it to spend on something else, and it will make a real difference to people. So it's it's an average of £14 a month for most households. We think have about 3 subscriptions, and just by getting on top of the subscriptions alone, will save them on average about £14 a month. But this is not tinkering about the edges. This is about putting money back in people's pockets, and of course, it's one of a number of measures we're doing to help people across the board. So if you look at the VAT on electricity prices, the £2 on bus fares, the changes that we've made to business rates for pubs and hospitality, all of these things feed through to the consumer. And really that's how we tackle the cost of living alongside the work that we're doing to increase wages as well, just to ensure that when it gets to the end of the month, it's just a bit easier for people. They've just got a bit more breathing space, and this really makes a difference. But there's another thing as well, which is it will improve consumer confidence and trust. Because I think you're probably aware, and certainly I am, you know those shops that you used to see that are on perpetual sale, and you just know it's not a real sale because they never have things at the high price.
You may have some suspicion
but
there,
with the internet,
of course.
that's harder. Yeah. It's harder for people to do that because you get on there, it's maybe a one-time use. They don't really care whether you come back again. And so that issue of trust is really important, and that'll help consumers to have more confidence as well.
One quirk in your press release, you've said that certain talking about the subscription traps, as you'd call them, you say certain charitable memberships for cultural or heritage organisations will be excluded from the new subscription rules. If they're subscription traps, surely it should apply regardless of what the organisation is.
So, yeah, we've sort of quite cautiously worded that as certain charitable organisations involved in culture and heritage and so on as well. But I'm sure very many times radio listeners might be able to think of such organisations. We're talking about, very national sort of prestigious organisations that care for our culture, our heritage, our land, our country. And of course, these charities
should you be trapped into a subscription with them?
Sorry, these charities rely on a very stable form of income, and they're not at the cutting edge of commercial practices. These are not the organisations that are out there trying to rip people off. And so it does seem sensible to us to offer an exemption for those organisations. And I'm sure many listeners will view that as very reasonable as well, because what we're really trying to do here is crack down on the bad practice that exists.
We really want to know how you're going to pay for some of these things. You've mentioned there the bus fare caps, the cuts to VAT on energy bills. The Times has been told that the Prime Minister's struggling to appoint a key advisor, Lord Jim O'Neill, over his concerns about government wealth taxes. And when the Times has spoken to the Chancellor, he hasn't ruled out tax rises coming at the end of October. A wealth tax, it sounds like, is on the table.
I mean, look, I'm sure lots of people talk to the Times about a huge number of things, but I think when it comes to the government, what we need to think about are the commitments that we've got in the manifesto. Really strong focus on cost of living for people, and of course, these when you say how are these things going to be paid for? Well, they all fall within the remit of our fiscal rules. Our fiscal rules, our budget rule, and our debt rule to ensure that we've got fiscal responsibility within the third year of the financial programme, and that is precisely how we've paid for these measures. So it's really a question of prioritising budgets. And of course, the measures that I'm announcing this morning come at very minimal implementation costs. Most of the cost falls on the regulator to ensure that they appropriately regulate the business.
But I'm sorry to interrupt. There have been some announcements, whether that's the VAT on energy bills or what we're expecting, increased spending on defence, that haven't been costed yet. And in his very first cabinet meeting as Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, said his government was going to show how it's going to pay for policies. So we are assuming that's going to be some kind of tax on capital gains or a wealth tax.
Well, they have been costed because, as we've said, they fall within the existing budgets of departments. I mean, until the reshuffle, I was in both the business and the energy department, and part of the job that we were doing there was ensuring that our budgets were aligned to the defence investment plan. So yes, these are costed. They're costed within departmental budgets, and of course we're taking that approach. But any individual tax changes obviously are announced at the budget. But in the period that we're in now, the policies that are being announced are costed within departmental budgets.
A couple of other things I want to talk to you about briefly. We've had a decade of small boat crossings across the Channel, and there's an interesting survey in the Times today conducted with YouGov, and I wonder how you would answer this question that many people have. Do you think the level of immigration over the past 10 years has been good or bad for Britain? And the four answers here are mostly good, mostly bad, both good and bad, don't know. Which would you pick?
Well, look, what I'll tell you is I think what most people think is the level of immigration in recent years has been uncontrolled and it's been excessive. I think everybody knows that. So some level of immigration for the country is clearly good, but I don't think anybody's been particularly happy with the level of immigration that we inherited from the previous government. And that's why we've reduced regular immigration by 82%. And we've also reduced small boat crossings to a level not seen since 2020. So we listened very carefully at the general election to what people wanted on that, and we're delivering it, and we're delivering it week in, week out. And I know that's incredibly painful for reform because they've run pretty much on the assumption that no one will be able to fix the problem. But we are fixing the problem, and we're fixing it every day and every week. And I think it's remarkable when you see, because I know people, particularly my constituency, are very concerned about the small boat crossings.
Yeah, I mean, at 43%
if you look at the summer that we've had with some of the best weather across the Channel, and actually small boat crossings this year at a level that we haven't seen since 2020. And that's because, it's a bit like the stuff we're doing on cost of living. There isn't a silver bullet. There isn't one thing. It's about careful implementation of a whole series of measures that's got us to this position where we've regained control of our borders, to say 82% reduction in regular immigration, and we're also getting on top of the small boat issue as well.
And yet, though, we're very short on time, so I just want to ask you, there is a very shocking photograph on the front page of the Times today of men travelling over on a small boat. They're in life vests, and there is one man holding a baby who looks a matter of months old. The baby's got their bib on, they're in a baby grow, no life protection vest, there's a baby bottle. How do you try to do something that means a parent is not going to make the choice to risk the life of their tiny baby and making that journey when the level of motivation is so strong that a parent is prepared to do that? How do you change that person's mind to say, don't come here, don't risk your baby's life by making that journey?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's absolutely heartbreaking, and I think it just shows you how desperate people are, that they would make a crossing like that, and they would take their small baby with them, knowing just how dangerous it is. And that's why, as I say, the measures that we've taken essentially to reduce attractiveness, increase deportations and so on, which have significantly reduced the number of crossings, they will have saved people's lives, they will have saved the lives of small children, as you've just said. And I think it also just shows how ridiculous this policy is from reform, to imagine that we're going to put destroyers in the Channel to push dinghies back. That's not how this can work. It needs to work by doing all of the things that we're doing, by reducing incentives, by having our agreement with France to tighten up on people leaving the beaches, and ultimately also tackling the criminal gangs as well. We've seen the results of that. That's kept people safe. It's reducing the number of people who are coming across the channel, and it's absolutely right that we really keep in mind those individuals and the lengths that they're going to and the danger that they're in at sea.
Chris McDonald, thank you, the Business Minister.